today's Ryan's last day. We're going to go to lunch and, farewell or whatever. And he was like, he's going to work at his friend's liquor store. Well, we all wish we could have done in college. And I was like, well,
a little more than that.
You don't really get it.
It's a little bit bigger than that.
Hello, and welcome everyone to episode 139 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Anthony, Kenny, and Steven. Hello, guys. Kenny, just ignore him. Just go on.
Hey, Kenny, how's it going tonight? So Kenny is mute right now. He's not even talking at all.
I was just trying to make Anthony laugh. And it worked.
Yeah, it did. I was like, what is he doing? I thought maybe his headphones weren't on or something that we just crossed you up there.
No, usually you actually laugh a lot and cutting up, so I wanted to get you going.
You don't want to waste good material on you laughing.
Well, now the floodgates are open, so there's going to be some problems. But, gentlemen, it looks like there's an extra seat at the table.
And a person in it.
And a person in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Kenny, I can't see real well. Do you know who that is there at the end of the table?
That is Yoda.
Yoda.
Baby Yoda?
No, the Yoda. the Yoda.
The Yoda. So if
Mr. Ryan Alves.
There you go. He blew it right out of the water. But I was going to say is this is somebody you've heard us mention many times on the podcast. And so without further ado, Mr. Ryan Alves, Yoda himself, is over here. And Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
I had the day off, and I was looking forward to this all day.
You were looking forward to being on this crappy podcast?
Yeah, like 5 o'clock. I was like, what am I going to do for the rest of the night? I'm ready to go.
Well, we're damn happy to have you here.
First time ever.
This is your first time ever on a podcast?
First time ever on a podcast.
Like ever.
Oh, boy. Well, if it's your first time ever on a podcast, that means that nobody's ever heard of the brilliance of you. So can you start off by telling us a little bit about your whiskey journey?
Sure.
And then I'm hoping these guys will jump in and say things like, well, maybe tell us where you might work and things like that. So let's get it going. How did your whiskey journey start, sir?
Pretty simply, I think. I'm from Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. So grew up, Four Roses, Wild Turkey are the mainstays in Lawrenceburg. Everybody that you know there works for a distillery.
So it wasn't the way that Steven was introduced to bourbon, which was Jim Beam White Label with Coke. What do you?
No, I won't pretend that.
Just kidding.
We didn't mix it with Mountain Dew when we were kids.
Yeah,
but
there you go. Right?
Diet
11 years old.
Diet. Yeah.
He's 11 years old, getting 85 CGF out of freaking Jimmy's garage, sneaking that little CGF out.
No, but being over there in Lawrenceburg, were you friends with and knew any? When you said everybody that works in distilleries, is it like part of the DNA, or did you have connections at the distilleries, things like that?
Both. Just that it's like any city where there's a big industry. Most of the people find work there. Distilleries are pretty large. The two that are in Lawrenceburg are pretty large, and also the surrounding counties. Obviously, Frankfort's right there, Woodford's right there. Just kind of a way of life in Lawrenceburg. My first bourbon memories were Four Roses, which if you know me, I'm a Wild Turkey guy, so that's a little different.
What year are we talking here?
Well, drinking, definitely in high school. But when I was a kid...
I didn't question that. I was just
How dare you? No, I'm just kidding.
When I was a kid, my grandparents used to live past Four Roses, so we were there every weekend, driving past the distillery. Mm-hmm. My first bourbon memory, let's call it that. I didn't even really understand it, 8 years old, what the smell in the air was.
Yeah.
Sort of what these two things were known as. But, and then as I grew up, became really good friends with Bruce Russell.
Oh, awesome.
From the Wild Turkey family. We both have younger brothers who also were very close friends. Bruce's younger brother was one of the best men in my brother's wedding.
Okay.
Travel sports together as we were growing up. Pretty small town, so you kind of know everybody.
I heard you had a great tennis coach.
We had a great tennis coach. Shout out Mark Prater.
Does that come in?
Bruce and I were doubles partners in high school.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Football, I was center. His brother was quarterback. Bruce was running back. So we were
right there,
all kind of synced up.
Holy cow, that's awesome.
I've known that family forever. Growing up, you probably didn't realize how big of a deal they were.
Oh, absolutely.
It just Jimmy and Eddie.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was little, or when I was younger, I used to think that they owned the distillery. It was like always funny, like tell people like my friends own the distillery. I didn't.
Oh, that's awesome though.
Understand
I would have
what
said the
it
same
really
thing.
meant, but
Yeah, I would have done the same thing.
so yeah, that's how I got into it. Really, in college, started seeking out a little more quasi collecting. Like,
Right.
you would have 10 to 12 bottles or something. Nothing crazy. Mostly Wild Turkey products.
Do you remember the first bourbon though? What was the first bourbon?
That you fell in love with.
Yeah. Well, that you drank and that you fell. in
First
love
that I drank was we definitely drank 101 a lot.
Yeah.
I would say the first one that maybe like made an impact on me was like some rare breed that we found in Eddie's garage.
with. Was that better than the shelf rare breed? I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was just rare breed. I think it was from like 99 or something. Like it was an older one, and
That's amazing.
didn't say I had like I wasn't a nerd until
Yeah.
probably I was mid 20s.
It's really rare to find people that were drinking like premium, like all the way through. I mean, I know,
Again, we were
yeah,
heavily mixing or chasing.
Of course.
yeah. That's my history.
We
too.
also, would instead of going after the really awesome 90s 101s or rare breeds or whatever, we would also take his peach schnapps. We were kids, right?
Well, don't worry. Anthony has a thing for Canadian whiskey.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Us Greeks, we used to drink nothing but like Canadian Club and Crown Royal and stuff. That's all we did drink growing up. I mean,
Sure.
bourbon was like, oh, that was harsh stuff. We'll
Right.
just have that 80 proof blended stuff, and that was my speed.
So Ryan, fast forward a little bit. It brings us to, I guess, your current job. So how did that get started?
I am, just so everybody knows, I'm the general manager at Justin's House of Bourbon and Bourbon Outfitter. So I oversee both retail stores in Lexington and Louisville, and then handle the day-to-day of the website, which operates out of Washington, D.C. I do that remotely. How I got involved, just simply, I past life was a journalist, and so just like a totally left field, right? I was working for a publishing company in Lexington at the time, right when they first opened the shop around 2018. Bruce actually had messaged me. I was like, hey, some friends of mine are opening this really cool store. They have a huge vintage and rare collection. You should just go and check it out. I had some older bottles by then, and so went down and saw the guys. I think I bought 5 bottles the first day. Like, how it happens, right?
Good way to endear yourself, right? Like
Same story I have with Kenny.
Yeah.
The first time we ever met, but
Yeah, I bought some bottles.
yeah.
yours were a lot more expensive than the ones I got. I think that actually in 2018 was when Old Forester started doing Whiskey Row series. I think.
Yep.
Or the first bottle opened from House of Bourbon was in 1920. Old Forester 1920.
Very solid
It was
pour.
right when it had came out. I think maybe that year or something like that. Just started going back on my lunch break. Honestly, like I didn't love my job at the time. So, no one really talked to each other. I had one really good friend that worked there, and if I didn't want to eat in the break room,
Right.
I just went down to House of Bourbon and hung out for an hour.
Well, I don't
Drank
know.
a little on my lunch break.
There you go. And I didn't know that you were in journalism
Yeah.
because I'm a communications professor, and so I know that entry or whatever level of journalism position you had, not only was it probably a little lonely, but it probably didn't pay very much either.
It did not. I
Just know what I know.
Yeah, I actually did my freshman year at UK.
Okay.
In communications and journalism, and then eventually went to Eastern, and I got my degree in journalism and a minor in graphic arts. And
Nice.
design. Started working for the newspaper in Georgetown. I was a sports editor there, like right out of college. Actually, while I was still going to college, I was sports editor of the Georgetown newspaper.
Nice.
Yes,
It
I
was
had
like
no idea, man.
We published three times a week, so there was a lot of work. Senior year of college is kind of easy at that point.
Yeah.
And was traveling back and forth between Richmond and Georgetown several nights a week, covering high school and college sports.
That's the grind, man. And you were
Yeah.
thinking like I'm going to end up in a big city somewhere, work
Yeah,
with a big
right.
media
You
company.
think that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I grew up like my dream wanting to write the back page of Sports Illustrated,
Right.
like that very last
Yeah.
story.
Uh-huh.
Rick Riley used to write it, and that's what sort of got me on journalism.
Yeah.
Eventually, just kind of moved around. It ended up in E-Town for a bit, back in Lawrenceburg, back in Georgetown, and then eventually Lexington. Working in Lexington, I've lived on and off in Lexington pretty much all my adult life.
Wow.
2019, when House of Bourbon was opening their second location in Louisville. The manager there at the time was going to have to open the store in Louisville to get it kind of off the ground. So they were looking for some more help. I was just always around. I'd even worked, hey, can you come and just like work the door at this event, or like come and wash the dishes or whatever. Right? Like, I just wanted to be around everybody.
Right.
Started part-time in 2019, probably within 2 months, sort of had a pretty good feel for it. I think that they saw what I could do, I guess, in the sales realm and what I could bring to the table. Hired on full-time from there.
Awesome.
And,
Nice. Yeah.
6 months I was operations manager, and I don't know, a year and a half later, GM of the whole thing.
Dang. Well, yeah. You know, it's funny. Like when we're doing a podcast here, you know, we always think about doing the podcast as a fun hobby, but really, I think Stephen and Kenny, I don't want to speak for either of you guys. If you could do anything, right, you'd want to work in whiskey. Right? Like that's kind of the dream, isn't it? It's kind of like to be able to work in whiskey. And, I don't know if I'll ever have the opportunity to do that, but the fact that you do is freaking cool, man.
It's fun. I mean, I would be lying if, I remember when I was quitting my job before the shop, on my last day, they like came out and were like, today's Ryan's last day, we're going to go to lunch and, farewell or whatever. And he was like, he's going to work at his friend's liquor store. Well, we all wish we could have done in college. And I was like, well,
a little more than that.
You don't really get it.
It's a little bit bigger than that. Yeah.
I knew I was making the right decision.
Yeah, I think I met J Hobb enough to be considered a part-time associate, but I'm not on the payroll, so.
Not officially. He did come to the employee Christmas party.
Oh, you did.
And I do help customers while I'm there, too.
Him and Shannon both. Yeah, he's sold his fair share.
Oh, that's funny.
I will admit that for sure.
Yeah, that's great. No,
fun stuff.
Contributor.
Were you working at Justin's house the night of the Justin Timberlake concert in Lexington? It was like
what year? Just he'll
19.
Distinctly remember that. I started in August of 19, so if it was after that, yeah.
Because I remember someone that looks very like
It'd
you
be very possible.
that served the original Michael and I some samples before we went to the concert that night.
Maybe.
Okay.
If you go back and look, maybe. I don't remember a Justin Timberlake concert, but that.
Okay, then don't worry about it. Don't worry. I was going to bring it up, but if you don't remember, don't worry.
No, I don't.
Maybe,
I don't remember that.
maybe it was you.
Maybe.
Did you guys have good drinks down there?
We got some pours. And,
I'm terrible with names and like.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
I don't have a great.
But if you don't remember JT concert, then
no, I don't remember.
Okay, then don't worry about it.
Yeah, but you did tell me about those two guys that were in matching shirts that came in that one night.
Yeah,
so that probably was them.
They were steaming to be Wham, right?
Oh man, that's hilarious. Well, the other thing that I quickly want to mention is we're happy that you were able to partner with us and do that little promotion that we have with if you order from bourbonoutfitter.com and enter code the mashup, then you get a special discount on your bottles. And that was very nice and kind of you to partner with us, and we appreciate that very much. And then for anybody who sees this online, sees Bourbon Outfitter and goes, I'm not sure.
We're legit. We're not scamming you, I promise.
Yeah. No, we've all ordered from there, so all good.
So guys, we had another shout out this week.
Yes, another 5-star review entitled Weeder, and this review was left by Nathan Taylor, parentheses, KSD. He said, just listen to the Paragon episode. Glad y'all reviewed that one. Great pour. So a short but sweet 5-star review. We appreciate that. And Kenny, you know Nathan Taylor.
Yeah,
right?
I know Nathan, man. We actually message a bunch. I believe he's Mount Sterling area, if I remember correctly. But
yeah,
he's actually going to come by and sit pretty soon.
Awesome.
He was going to come over one night a while back, and I think he got sick that weekend or something, whatever it was. Hung out with him 2 or 3 times at like events, just not here at the house yet.
Yeah, he's a solid dude.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, he's a great member of the local community. And a couple weeks back, I was over in Liquor Barn. I can't remember why I went there. And I think I just went in to browse, and they had a Four Roses OBSV, and Nathan was there. So he came over and we chatted. I mean, that's often the case when you end up at a big box store around the lunch hour. There's usually a lot of bourbon folks hanging out, sometimes eating, having pours at the
getting
bar
sandwiches
and
just waiting, right?
Yeah, getting sandwiches. So we actually sat and chatted for quite a while, and we talked a little bit. And at that time, I didn't even know he was listening to our podcast regularly. So
good surprise.
Yeah, good surprise.
He messaged me about that, and he just
did.
how much he loves the podcast. Like, he took a break for a while and is getting back into it now.
Yeah,
but he's a big beer guy.
Yeah.
Just kind of like how Jason is. Seems like a lot of beer guys have they actually have pretty good palates and pick out a lot of nuances in bourbon. I don't know if it translates really good or what.
Yeah.
But it seems like that.
Well, we're happy to have the beer guy.
If anyone else wants a shout out, just leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram. Again, mail it to Kenny and
Carrier pigeon.
And next time we record, we'll give you a shout out.
There you go.
Boom.
So, boys, before we get to the bottle for this week, I think we have a special segment we like to go over.
Yeah, I think so. On some previous episodes, we've talked about how we've done the best of 2023, a few of our findings, a few of our results, some things that, we were sipping on, talked about enjoying it. A week before, we actually completed our championship round for the best of 2023. So it's part of the reason why Alves is on here as well. He's super instrumental in that. It's something that, if anybody knows, they've listened, I started sipping bourbon in January of 2020. Same time I met Ryan, probably that March or April. Might be even February, March, and we started hanging out. That year, we did a best of 2020. It was his idea to do it, in which I love to blind anyway, so it was right up my alley.
Not you.
Yeah. But Ryan suggested it, and we've done it every year since then. It's been awesome. So, yeah, we'd like to talk about that a little bit. And this year was literally mind-blowing. So take it away, man. How did we even get to the bottles? That's something that I don't know if anybody in any of the bourbon groups, national, local, when I see them talk about blinding, do it the way we did it. That was insane.
In years past, we had always just collected what we thought were, obviously, we couldn't have everything, be drunk for days.
Yeah.
And broke.
Yeah.
Broke, yeah.
But we're privileged to, speaking for Kenny and I, we're both privileged to try a lot. I'm very privileged that I get to do that. So we just thought about what are the best bottles for the year that we kind of really liked and we thought would score well. Let's compile them with 4 or 5 of our friends and everybody bring some stuff to the table, and then we'll just sit around and blind sample stuff. First couple of years we just did it single blind, so we knew the bottles that we were bringing. Mm-hmm. This year we stepped it up a notch. And we did
total mind screw.
We did double blind, within
pretty double blind.
Pretty much double blind.
Yeah.
You knew what you brought, but we didn't know from past there. So we broke down bottles into sample jars that were just numbered.
Yep.
Threw them on a table. We picked them up. We had submitted more bottles than we actually scored, so you really didn't even know if the ones you submitted made it into the final sort of 32, I think is what it was.
Is it 40?
40.
40. It was 40.
Wouldn't it be 39?
39.
Yeah, so 6 of us submitted bottles, so you only knew with the bottles that you submitted.
Yeah.
But there were like 48 bottles submitted that got Shannon reduced them down to 40. So
some of them were duplicates.
It was single blind if you thought that your bottles made it in there, but you really didn't know, but you had no idea what the other people brought. So it truly was like a double blind, and it was just pretty crazy. But it was 40. We found out after the first round or two that one of the bottles ended up being like a private barrel that, it was a legit barrel a guy bought, but it didn't go through distribution. It wasn't like legit bottle, so that got tossed out. So our top 40 really became top 39. So
that
39 though.
If I may interrupt, I think that barrel was tossed out because it was aged by houseplants in a greenhouse. I'm just kidding. It was
in the spirit of the competition.
Yeah.
Just decided to throw it out.
Keep it clean.
Yeah. So Shannon got them down to 40. Then we ended up eliminating one, so it was 39. And then so they were all just numbered on the bottom. Put all 39 on the table. Just had to mix them all up, and we did 20 one night or one afternoon. So we did 10. Took like a 2.5, 3 hour break, did the other 10. And so you had no idea what you were drinking. So like double blind, basically. Truly double blind, because you didn't know if the stuff that you even put in there made it. And so that was so unique and so interesting. And we had a lot of good hitters in there. We typically include GTS every year in our blinds because it usually fares well and it tastes overall good.
How did it fare in 2021? I'm just sorry I have to say stupid stuff because it wasn't released.
Would have won.
Would have won.
It was moldy.
That got away.
It was moldy that year.
There you go.
We typically don't include William LaRue. It just does not hold up well in blinds. Everybody talks about loving it, but every time you blind it, it just doesn't hold up well. Obviously, don't do Pappies. It's lower proof. It just wouldn't stand out enough in these blinds, and it's just kind of overly priced for what it is. But there's a lot of good bangers. We'll
And
we'll
also,
talk
too,
about
it
some of
was
those.
40, like us doing 100 doesn't seem reasonable. We drank a lot of really good whiskey this year. Even if something I think finished 40th doesn't mean that it was the
Doesn't
worst
mean it's
whiskey.
bad,
Doesn't
right.
mean it was the worst
Right.
whiskey of the year.
Right.
These were what we deemed as like our top 40 bottles of the year. And then it's just about finding where they kind of sit in that space. There are a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that we didn't include. Stuff that was scheduling to. We have to like start thinking about it in early December.
Right.
So you do kind of miss that last half of bourbon hunting season.
Right.
With some some of the releases, but
Would you include those bottles in next year's?
no, it's purely what's
Okay.
been released in the calendar year.
Well,
we
but-
try to anyway.
So, for example, GTS just finally hit here in Kentucky now in January.
Right.
But I bought one natty from another state when it dropped, so that was included. The bottle we're going to try later on tonight, which we haven't even talked about it yet.
Yeah.
Did it release any? It didn't even release anywhere. Did it in 2023? Really?
I don't
know.
I think it was.
Like it started going from a distributor, but I don't think any stores had it.
No.
I have to look and see when my purchase date was.
Okay.
It might have been like. No, there's no way it wasn't this year.
It wasn't this year.
No, it was.
Oh, it had to be this year.
wasn't,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, but there was, if something dropped, which Ryan and I kind of talked about it, if something like crazy that was really premium dropped in that last week of December, what we talked about doing was just adding it into the final round and just seeing where it scored and just taking it from there. But nothing really dropped in that last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So
Actually, I bought it in 2023.
you
Did
did.
you?
There you go. So it was sitting somewhere in the distribution pipeline in 23, even though most places
I
weren't
didn't see any
shipping
stores
it
didn't have it
until
out.
No,
24.
I mean,
Yes.
we'll get into it, but it was not available really anywhere other than a couple places. And I bought this bottle in 2023.
Oh, you did buy it in
Yeah,
2023?
December 23rd.
There you
Oh,
go.
wow.
Okay. Wow. Perfect.
Well, based on, I don't want to give it away, but based on the nose, I don't know if it'd make it anyway, but we'll see.
Oh.
I'm being hard.
All right. Well, the one thing that I'll say, and so after we did all the preliminary scoring and the scoring system, so Stephen, you joined us for the championship round.
I did.
Which was awesome to have you at the table. We started with 6, and then you were here at 7, right? The 7th person to join the table. And what did you think? So those of you who are wondering how we do the scoring here, can you kind of tell a little bit about how the scoring goes?
Right. So it was 2 rounds, right?
Right.
5 pours each round. And Kenny forgot to mention that all the Glens were blacked out.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
all black, so no
Yep.
one can look at legs, no one can look at color, no one
Yep.
can look at char. It was completely blinded.
Yeah.
So all we knew that we had several rounds of different pours, and all we just basically kind of graded it 1 to 10.
Yep.
And they went around the table after that round, summed up the totals, and it went down.
Yeah, that was
It's fun.
It's Anthony's second year, right?
it was my second year.
Second
doing it.
year.
Yeah, we started in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2.
Caleb's
We've had a different.
Caleb's third year.
third year.
Michael Harris's
Michael's
first year.
We brought him in this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had to kind of rotate a little bit. Just
Yeah.
Shuffling the deck. And
people,
this was
people get in and out of the game, and
But yeah, so we ended up doing. So we had top 10 selected, and that one bottle that we had to get rid of because it wasn't a true legit bottle made us down to top 9. So we were going to go back up to top 10, but the 10th place and 11th place were tied. So we did top 11 in the final round. I'm pretty happy with the results, honestly, because it's some bottles that aren't necessarily what a lot of people were chasing and highly touted and super expensive and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty awesome.
I mean, there definitely is a good mix of stuff that everybody knows, and then maybe some stuff that
People aren't
people
familiar
aren't
with.
familiar with.
So
which is always
can I read this list, because
Yeah.
some of this stuff is things that we've tried on the podcast over the course of the history of the podcast. I mean, they weren't the 23 releases. So the releases were Redbreast 19 year, 117.8 proof. King Kentucky 16 year, that was this year's release. GTS we mentioned. Barrel King Knighted. I don't know a whole lot about that one, but Barrel King Knighted. Rebecca Creek Spanish Double Oak. 13th Colony Double Oak. Willet OBC pick, which was the Haunted House pick. That was a 10-year-old one, right?
9 year.
9-year-old. There was Russell's Reserve CNF. There was Old Louisville pick that we've reviewed on the podcast.
That was my barrel, yeah.
Yeah, there was a 14-year rare character malt. And for those of you counting, I think this is the last one, was the JD Twice Barreled Rye. And I strategically went out of order so that you could be surprised by how
I was wondering.
he
I almost
scored.
stopped and I'm like, what the freaking
You're like,
heck are
what
you
the heck
reading?
is this guy doing
Where's
right
his
now?
list from? But, yeah.
So that's the list. But I think that, I don't know if anybody wants to talk about the actual way that they scored the 1 to 11. And then we can talk about what surprised us, I guess. But yeah, so
We started at 11.
Yeah, he started 11.
yeah. So 11 was JD Twice Barreled Rye.
The Jack Daniel's Heritage release for this year, double barreled rye whiskey, which I thought was delicious. Actually, I actually think my highest score, or tied with my highest score.
Really?
Yeah, for the entire thing. Yep.
I remember in the prelim rounds, I liked it a lot. I thought it tasted like orange hard candy, like really sweet and nice.
Yeah. We only had 2 ryes, I think. No, 3. We had 3 ryes in the whole 40.
Whole
I
40?
believe, yeah.
There were at least 3. Yeah.
2 Jack. We also had the Jack Bonded and then another one, but
13th Colonies.
we had 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. 40 can be.
That was one of Jason Hell's favorites.
A true story. When we showed Jason the original list of stuff that made it through, he was so flummoxed by it. He was like, "How in the heck did you guys score this well?" He's
It
like,
was
"I've-
disgusting.
I've had a pour of it."
He
He
had
said,
a liquor
"It's
barn,
disgusting."
poured
All
it
this
out.
stuff.
It was so gross.
And then what do we find out? What was it actually he had?
Yeah, it's funny. So
It's twice barreled American whiskey.
So when he came over to record with us that night, I blinded him with that, and he thought it was really good. And so we were like, I gotcha. And he's like, man, but so he came back. He found out there was a different Jack Daniels that he bought at Liquor Barn as a sample. And so it's funny, but he can sleep now. I mean, he literally texted us back. He's like, I can sleep at night now. It's racking my brain. I'm trying to figure out why it tasted so bad at Liquor Barn, so good at your house, but it was a different one. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I really like the Jack Daniel Twice Barrel Rye.
It was good.
It scored an overall score of 44.5, but I scored it a 9. It was my I only scored one other thing, a 9 in the top 10, so it was up there for me.
And then just 10th place in the championship round, or tied for whatever, or 10th place.
Yeah, tied for 10th with Jack.
Well, no, it was a half point higher. So yeah, Jack was 11th, scored a 45, whole Louisville 45.5.
We're going to have a math dispute here at the table.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Sorry, my bad. I was looking at the ranking after the initial blinds, the first 11.
I was hoping you guys were going to throw down.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Now, like after the initial rounds, so 10th place was my old Louisville pick, 10-year MGP, 114 proof. It's their discontinued mash bill, the 51% corn, 49% malted barley.
Yep.
I love it. It's phenomenal.
And we did an episode on it too.
We did an episode. Now,
Yep.
after the prelim rounds, that was actually sitting in second place. So it did drop from second to 10th in the championship round.
Right.
But still an amazing bottle, I thought, especially. It was 155 at retail or whatever.
Yep.
Just going back real quick because I want to make sure I clear myself. I scored a Jack Daniel's Twice Barrel Rye as a 9.5.
Wow.
In the championship round. My highest score
I scored 6.5.
in the championship round.
Yeah, I scored 6.5. I liked it, though.
I'm not going to go into the details about our scores because I think mine were all pretty similar within a half point of each other. It was hard for me to discriminate in that championship round. I don't know. There were some things. What was your, I guess we have to go through the top 10 before you say what your least favorite was. But do you remember what your least favorite was of the final round? Do you, Steven?
I don't remember. I don't know scores.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I don't even know if I can remember which one was mine. But all right. So moving on, number 9 was Russell's Reserve Single Rick
CNF.
And we did an episode on that as well. Do you remember that one where we did compare the two? And I was really surprised by that because I remember saying that I wouldn't buy this year's because of the price tag. And now I'm rethinking that a little bit. I kind of feel bad about I had the opportunity to buy one at retail, which was $300 and some bucks, right? Wasn't retail $299 on those?
Yeah. 350 maybe even.
Yeah, $299, $350. I had a chance to buy one and I passed on it, but that fared pretty well. Scored 46.5.
That was another one that dropped from after the initials. It was third place in the initial.
Third place in the initial.
Dropped to third to last.
Well, number 8 is one that's special to me. So this year's blinds, I'm honestly kind of excited because a few of these were ones that I kind of found that you didn't, are kind of off the beaten path that finished freaking phenomenal. And this one was one of those. Turned a lot of people onto it, and a lot of people did buy it. Fortunately, they believed in me enough to do it, and they are super happy they did. This is the Rebecca Creek Spanish double oak. Yeah. So it was, I believe, it spent 4 years in the Spanish oak barrels, and then they rebarreled it for another 2 years, a little over 2 years. And I think it was New American oak, I think, when I read on the bottle. But it ended up being like about 6.5-year-old MGP. It was like 123 proof, I think, is when we did. They were only in Texas, to my knowledge, but I had plenty of friends that Cost Plus shipped me some. So ended up getting between $85 and $95 counting shipping on those, and it literally finished. We haven't gone over all of the highly sought after and the expensive bottles that didn't make our championship round, but we'll do that in a minute.
Yep.
But this one finished 8th, and it's like at retail probably a $70 bottle at retail that finished literally 8th place. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I think we talked about it being the best
for the money.
Best for the money, like truly what it costs to get a bottle. The best for the money, which is always fun to see.
Yep.
Kenny, you have any extras of those? Can we? Please, sir, can I have one?
I am down to 19.
Oh,
so
really? Dang.
I did have.
It's getting too close.
Yeah, down to 19.
He's going to charge me double
19.
Secondary on that one.
Almost 3 cases.
But speaking of best for the money,
oh yeah,
this leads into the next thing. So we had 11, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to have 10 and do 5 and 5. Well, we ended up having 11. Instead of doing rounds of 4, 4, and 3, we're like, let's do 4, 4, and 4. So only me and Ryan knew this. Anthony and Caleb and Jordan and Michael did not. Me and Ryan thought about adding what we considered the very, very best bottle for the money in 2021, which is Maker's FAO2.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my highest scores of that year.
Yeah.
That crushed that year.
That year, there was 6 of us. There were still 6 of us. My wife did it that year. Mm-hmm. Not to call her out, but it was her score that tanked that bottle. I think she gave it a 2 or a 3 or something.
Women!
All of us gave it like 7.5 above.
Everyone gave it a 7.5 to 8, 8.5, 9.
Yeah,
like everybody, she gave it a 2 or 3, so it tanked it out of the championship round.
Shannon.
Dang.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. We usually have a similarly palette, but something was wrong with that one. So we threw FAO2 into here, and FAO2 tied. It had a score of a 48. So it's the same score. There were actually 3 that scored a 48. So they were 5th, 6th, and 7th place. So a $70 Maker's FAO2 scored the same as these other ones. Mm-hmm. So we just threw it in there. It doesn't really count as top because it was a 2021 release. But we just want to see where it would fall, and it freaking fell very good.
Also,
good,
Kenny just loves chaos, and so he's got to do. He can't just do anything normal.
Well,
right?
because here's the thing:
he's got to.
One of the very best releases, one of my highest scores of this year or 2023, is the Garrison Brothers Cowboy Hazmat.
Right.
The 2 people at the table tanked it. Everybody else loved it. So they all thought that I was throwing Cowboy back into the mix.
Names here.
I didn't. Because honestly, I tanked a couple bottles just because I don't like everybody's palate's different. So that's what we try to do, though, is at least have a divergent, group on the panel. But so when they found out there was a 12th one, everybody at the table was like, "You added the Cowboy back, didn't you? Added Cowboy back."
We did.
I did.
I think people were looking through it.
Yes.
For it too.
They thought, I know. That's so funny. All right.
So those 3 bottles that tied were Redbreast 19, 117.8 proof, GTS, this year's George T. Stagg, and Barrel King Knighted. And other than GTS, I don't know a lot about the other 2, so I'm going to have to yield, especially to Barrel King Knighted.
Ryan,
it's got to be
about the
Ryan.
Barrel King.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah.
That's the wrong name, too. Actually, I had the wrong name.
No, it's the right. We can.
Okay.
But it's the right name. Barrel King is for sure the brand. Probably the brand that people on the list would probably know the least, I would guess, maybe. Mm-hmm. They're sort of having this kind of movement right now. They're what I would call a cult following. The people that know, if you know, you know, type of thing.
If you know, you know. Yeah.
They're out of Bourbon, Missouri, which is a really cool place.
Great name.
Great name, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Bourbon, Missouri.
And it's a husband and a wife, Jared and Rachel, who I've gotten to know a little bit, had some conversations with. They're really great people. They're NDPs, non-distilled producers, and they're using whiskey from different distilleries to then do blends or single barrels, but they're double barreling everything. We're finishing everything. And a lot of their finishing barrels, or maybe even most of their finishing barrels, are all like heritage distilleries.
Okay.
And they're all the really big name barrels.
Nice.
So this one particularly, Barrel King Knighted, is the series. This one was a blend done by my good friend Matt Porter ADHD Whiskey on
Oh,
YouTube.
yeah. I know that dude.
Yeah.
This was in
Well,
his
I've watched him. I don't
Whiskey
know.
King series. This one particularly is Whiskey King 3.
So it's Barrel King, but Whiskey King 3.
Yeah, Barrel King is the
Yeah.
brand.
And then Whiskey King 3
Knighted is the series. You will see other Barrel King Knighteds.
Gotcha.
And then, but this was Matt's particular blend. He called it Whiskey King 3.
Shout out to Matt.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Good pour.
I know Anthony, a wrestling guy. It's like the sticker on it or the label on it is like a Triple H.
Oh.
Back when he's like absolutely huge.
Yeah.
But it's Matt's picture, like sort of
Oh,
done
nice.
really, really well.
That's
so Whiskey
fantastic.
King is like, and he's wearing like the crown and like all that stuff, right?
That's awesome.
This one was the one that I think surprised me the most, or maybe would surprise people the most, but also doesn't surprise me. Matt is an incredible talent. He's a great palate. He's a super taster, sensitive, really sensitive.
Yeah.
Can pick up anything. Somebody that I really, really trust. A friend of mine first, we do business together too with Bourbon Outfitter. All of his single barrels, we sell and we facilitate for him.
There you go.
But this one particularly was a 5-barrel blend of low rye MGP, and then finished in a Stag Junior barrel.
Oh, interesting.
MSRP was $140, around there, plus shipping, I guess. 120 proof, yielded about 400 bottles, maybe.
Okay.
122 proof. I'm sorry, yield was 220 bottles. I'm looking at the notes on Patreon. But yeah, it was finished in a Stag Junior barrel.
That's pretty awesome. I can assume that those are all gone. They're
Yeah.
They're in
sold
loving
out pretty
homes, being
quickly.
loved.
He dropped Whiskey 2 and Whiskey King 3 and 2 at the same day. They both sold out, in one day, which is
Wow.
pretty phenomenal. It was almost over 600 bottles, I think. It was their biggest. I think Barrel King said it was like their biggest day ever.
Yeah.
Because they host all their stuff out of the distillery there. But shout out to Matt. He actually just got signed on with Barrel King. He's now their blender, their head blender.
Wow.
His first, so he's still doing YouTube, still doing all that stuff, but he is going to be, I think his title is taster or something. I don't know,
Nice.
something like that.
Well, his $140 bottle scored the same as a $1,000
His
GTS.
GTS.
Yeah.
It was
Or actually, $850 GTS.
150.
Price
eight-
of the
$850.
market soft.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Market
soft
soft.
now.
Shout out to Matt. He's
Yeah.
one of my best
I
friends.
actually met him once
Yeah.
at House of Bourbon. He was really cool, really
He's
nice.
great. Yeah.
That's great.
So Redbreast 27 is probably my favorite thing from last year. I was going to enter it in, but we already had 48, and we were trying to get down to 40. I submitted a lot of stuff as well, so I didn't want to. So I decided to pull 27 out and leave the 19 in because it's higher proof, and I thought it would stand out better. That is a whiskey exchange only bottle. I don't know. I guess they partnered or did something, and so Whiskey Exchange over in Europe got that from Redbreast, and that's an exclusive for them.
So it's not a single barrel; it's a blend.
It's a blend,
Okay.
yeah, but it is a 19-year, 117.8 proof, and it is just friggin' phenomenal, like flat out amazing.
Yeah.
And so those all scored the same as George T. Stagg. This year's GTS was 135 proof.
Yeah, and we did an episode on that. And do you remember, either you guys, Kenny or Steven, have anything that you remember about that you thought either?
Well, we're all buys at retail because that's
Right,
obvious.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the one that to me tasted like a Willet and Four Roses had a baby.
Yeah.
So it wasn't George T. Stagg S for me, So I said if I got one, I would try to trade it for another year of Stagg personally.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say I thought I was harsh on it when we did the episode. I was a little bit too harsh on it, and I think I scored it above an 8 every single time we blinded it. So
That's all we blind though, man.
it did
Seriously.
stand up more
Yeah.
so than when we did it that night. I mean, and I know you had done one of those in the championship round too. I think you scored it pretty well, right, Steven?
The which one?
The GTS. I think you liked it a lot the night of the championship round too, didn't you? You were a
I
little.
don't have my scores. I haven't seen them since the night.
I know, but I think I remember comparing that one with you.
Okay.
and
I think
you-
our scores were pretty close because
Yeah,
I was
on
looking
that
over
one.
there and they were like a half point
So
off.
it stood up. That was a big surprise to me,
Yeah.
considering how tough we were on it. So
See, same thing for me. I was really harsh on 13th Colony's Double Oak when I just had it, but it blinded better for me.
Yeah.
But that's why we blind.
So moving on to the top 4. Here's your top 4 whiskeys of 2023 according to our esteemed tasting panel. Coming in at number 4 was King of
King of
Kentucky.
Kentucky,
There you
16
go.
year.
There you go. That's right.
That's
I actually scored that one a 9. It actually got a 51 overall. I gave it a 9.
yeah, 51. I scored it at a 9 too, which match about what I scored. Actually, I scored it a 7 in the preliminaries, the first initial. but everybody else must have loved it. It finished 6th in the first and after the initial blinds.
Dude, for the rounds, I gave it a 6.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I gave it a 6.5.
Yikes.
I know.
What the heck were you thinking, Kenny?
It just, I don't know that night. I don't know.
Well, I regularly think of King Kentucky as one of the best whiskeys
Yes.
released every year since it started releasing. And so
Very, very best single barrel every year.
I was happy that it finished top 5.
I think it's probably had a run of the best modern whiskey. Right, it was definitely in the last 5 years or whatever it's been out.
I agree.
I know that I've not had the first release in a long time. Yeah. I know that one didn't wow people like the last, but everyone after that is just every year it's one of the best whiskeys.
Especially for single barrels.
Yeah,
the best
100%.
single barrel.
It probably
because
is
all your
the
other premium
single
stuff is batches typically. Number 3 was something I'm always harsh on, so I'll let one of you guys tell it what it is.
Number 3 was the 13th Colony Double Oak.
Scored a 51.5, so it's half a point higher than King Kentucky. I did give it a 7. So that's my highest score I've given it.
And I will just say that I loved that whiskey when we did it on a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did too.
I liked it.
And I did not.
And you didn't exactly. And I think that when we were tasting, it still stood out to me. I think in the first round, not only did I score it really high, but I also said, that's everything I want in a bourbon. I won't forget that because I literally said that. I think I said it that night when we recorded the podcast as well. So that one stood up to me. I could pick it out. And now I just have to find one that's not outrageously priced because I do want to add that to my collection for sure.
I know a guy that's got one.
Oh, how bad's he going to rake me over the coals for that one? We'll see.
Can I use a promo code?
Do you have a lot B? Do you have a lot B, maybe?
I might have a lot B.
I scored it a 9 every round. Is actually my highest score that I gave in the preliminaries was a 9. I had 5 things that I scored a 9, and 13th Colony being one of them. So it was up there, my highest score of the entire thing.
Man, it showed out. It was there.
So number 2 was the Willet OBC Pick Haunted House.
Yeah. I went on that pick.
This was a surprise. I didn't.
Total surprise.
I'd never had
Yeah.
it before. And usually, if Kenny gets something fire, he's
Because it was
itching to share
good.
with me.
It was good, but it wasn't like fire, I didn't think.
Yeah.
It finished 9th
Yeah.
in the prelim rounds. Finished 2nd in the championship round. But luckily enough, I was on that pick. I got to go on it. It was an awesome pick. Shout out, Bucky. Thank you for inviting me on that. But it's special. It's good. It's
really,
130.
really good.
Crap. What was it? 136 proof, something like that.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say, I always like to interject
9 year.
with fun things is if anybody's listening is like, okay, yeah, sure, Kenny's got 2 of his picks in the top 10. Like, you got to understand, though, we didn't know what we were tasting.
Double blinds.
Literally double blind and with Black Glencairns. And
It's a group of people, too.
Yeah, and a group of people. So there is no way. So, sir, I'm paying you a compliment over there and saying that you have some good picking prowess. And appreciate that. I mean,
Yeah,
not
a lot
to
of
pump
people
you
don't
up.
do single barrels,
Right.
But I don't. It doesn't bother me. All of them aren't. We obviously we could run down the list of 40, and I would say 80% of these you would know what they are, and have probably had a chance to get them to buy them. I get it that it may not be the why score something a number 2 if like there were 100 bottles of it,
Right.
But
Yeah, I think
just about what we tasted for the year.
Well, with Fred Minnick, he does you have to have a 500 bottle, and for him
It's
to
a
put
great
on his
metric
list.
too.
And
I totally get that.
He's a little more national than we are, so a lot of our whiskey buddies and nerds will, they can still get some of these bottles. Like I just picked up a Willet 9 year in the parking lot yesterday from a guy. Listed it locally, I grabbed it up. So boom.
There you go.
Not only do I, but also actual Rebecca Creek.
Yep.
I put that in there. So yeah, I try to, I tend to have a decent palate to know good stuff to put in there. Just saying.
If you go back and look at all Kenny's scores, all the bottles he put in did score pretty heavily.
They did,
yeah. Pretty well.
Well, I'm not
Just
ashamed to say the bottles I put in didn't even make it. I didn't have anything make it to the top 10, and I think the closest I had to come to anything was in the mid 20s. So I was a putz when it came to that.
I had a mix of both. I had a couple things in the top 10, and then I had what was our lowest score. Several things that actually finished in the bottom 5.
It's a humbling experience.
Yeah.
So before we reveal number 1, we had another Kenny palate incident during the final round.
Oh yeah, I
come
forgot that this entire 2023 is an asterisk.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, First of all, I get a little silly when we do these things. So I was actually recording when this was going down. I just started my phone up and started recording everyone sitting around the table. And near as I could tell, what happened is we're not going to blame Shannon, but Shannon.
I blame Ryan.
Then
It was
Kenny's-
me and
it was
Shannon.
Ryan.
We can both take the blame collectively. We were on
Total
different
innocence, though.
pages.
Total innocent mistake.
Yeah.
Total. It was
Yeah.
not a. Yeah.
Well, so
She
what we
didn't- she
do,
didn't do
just to
anything
keep it, just to truly keep it blind, because in years past, we would take masking tape or painter's tape, put the name of the bottle on the bottom of the Boston round.
Right.
So when you go to pour, you had to make sure to have that covered, have your hand covered. Well, just to be like the truly double blind, beyond double blind, they were just labeled 1 through 11. And then there was a key that said what number 1 through 11 was. So all that happened was number 11, as in, because like I said, there was 12. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Number 11 was what Ryan said needed to go to the top, 4 for the final blonde. And Shannon just grabbed the bottle number 11.
Right.
And so all just innocent miscommunication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We numbered them. The problem, which we won't do it next year. The problem was we numbered them on our sheet of paper 1 through 12.
Right.
We numbered the bottoms of the bottles 1 through 12.
Yeah.
So when I told Shannon grab, what I meant was the 12th thing we tasted.
11th.
What was in the 11th thing we tasted was in the 11th
Right.
slot.
11th slot.
She found the
Bottle
bottle with
11.
number 11 on it, and it was totally in another thing.
Yeah.
Now,
And so
Now, so here's what we did. We did 4, 4, and 4. All right. So just for listeners, I didn't tell them this next part. So we did 4, 4, and 4, scored all 12 of them. 12 was still a lot. So we were going to take the top 4 out of all those 12 and do one more just final round of just those 4 against each other. So that's why we were grabbing these again.
And instead, what happened is I think after the first 2 sips of that final 4, Kenny was like,
I said something's wrong.
something's wrong. He got
"Something's
that wrong
He got
statement
that-
again.
No, that's wrong, bro.
Now, if any of our listeners listen to our Four Roses episode,
Yeah.
We had a
Yeah,
similar
similar
incident.
incident there.
Similar incident. And,
So I did guess that the wrong blonde was poured.
oh, that's crazy.
no,
Which-
I think it was after. I think that we finished all 4 because we had to do them again.
Yeah, you
No,
did.
We
And
finished all 4.
we finished
and then
4.
Once I was telling her the numbers,
But when
she
I was
like,
drinking
this
it, I'm
isn't
like,
right.
once I was drinking, I'm like, no, this is not because we had a list of what all was moving on to be in that, and I was like, no, this is not right. I could tell. So
And it almost ended up where we didn't have enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
One of them we didn't.
Yeah.
right?
No, it was
before.
just everybody's had just a little
Just a
bit.
little bit.
Steven did not get any.
Right.
Yeah, that's what
Steven
it was.
did not
yeah.
get
they
They
any.
were
like-
sacrificed.
For the greater good of the
But I did guess that the
competition.
wrong blonde was put in there.
That's
That
why.
was
That's why you can't
crazy.
do single.
We
blind
can't do
with
single
Kenny.
blinds, man.
Yeah.
It's he's not. It's not fair.
Oh, man.
Speaking of that, out of all 12,
Yeah, he get 10 of the 12 right. Like,
Well,
ridiculous.
what did it? If I would have guessed, I would have got 12 of 12 right.
100%.
But what I did was first we did 4, 4, 4. The first 8, I didn't just guess. I freaking after I tasted them, knew what they were. So then the last round there was 9, 10, 11, 12. I knew what 11 and 12 was. So I'm like, you know what? Since I actually know what these are, it's not just guessing. I'm not even going to guess at 11 and 12. But I said 11 and 12 is either this one or 11 and 12 was this one, and boom. So,
Just mixed them up. He would have got 12 out of 12.
well, I did
That's
think
right.
The most infuriating.
Yeah.
Do you hate me, brother?
Hate you.
Hate you.
Everybody hates you.
You guys got that friendly competition go, but I'm just
But that's
awestruck by
why.
it.
But that's why we had to do.
Yeah, that we had to.
That's why double blinds
That's
this
why
year
we
was
did double
awesome.
blinds because Kenny ruined it.
I ruined single
He
blinds.
ruins it. Versus it's not even fun anymore.
Single
So
blinds don't stand a chance.
Next year
bro.
we're gonna do double blinds
even for championship round.
up until we're not gonna know anything until the very last
Right.
sip is taken.
There you go.
Because you just can't, man. It's not. I mean,
Not fair.
single blinds don't stand a chance, man.
We're
They
going to
just
put
don't.
you in a chair and
Yeah.
spoon the whiskey
yeah,
in
yeah.
your mouth and completely have you blindfolded.
That would be a great experiment if you just because he has his ways about tasting and like the way that he does things. If you just strapped him in a chair,
Yeah.
and he couldn't do any of the normal things that he does.
You could just give an IV and have to go. in
Yeah,
IV.
how good.
Ryan, would you like to reveal the number
Oh,
one
sure.
for this year?
Yeah, there you go. The guest
Yeah,
does it.
awesome.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
There you go.
This was an awesome bottle. Rare character, exceptional series. It's a 14-year. Their Kentucky straight malt.
14-year,
Barrel number
5-month.
Yeah, barrel number 54 for all the rare character nerds.
Barrel number
They're chasing.
54. 135 proof.
Yeah, I believe so. This one I think did pretty much scored the highest every.
Scored the highest in the preliminary rounds,
Yeah, and
then
then
scored the highest in the
too.
championship round.
Yeah, or it was number 2 in the preliminary one.
Oh, after the
original,
behind the one
yeah.
that we had to remove.
So it moved up to first.
Yeah.
And it finished first again. It's been a banger bottle since it came out. It was probably the summer, wasn't it?
That was like April, May, wasn't it?
May, yeah.
So yeah, that one is also on a pallet full of those.
Yeah.
But that
Small
one,
percentage.
we were down. We were down at J-Hob, and Pablo came in, and I had a few bottles with me that are nice bottles that are hard to get. And so just like me, I mean, we share, we make memories. It's all about sharing. So share stuff with Pablo, and he was just blown away. He's like, wow, I can't believe you're sharing all this stuff with me. I'm like, yeah, what should we do? So Pablo being like Oprah, right? That's his nickname,
You
right?
got a car?
You get a bottle. You get a bottle. You get a bottle. But so he said he was going to get some stuff to Ryan for me. And I thought, just some samples, 2-ounce samples, 4-ounce samples, cool. But he had some bottles for me, like whole bottles.
That's amazing.
So it was a 2008 distilled, and I think cat's out of the bag. I mean, everyone knows it's Heaven Hill distillate. Mm-hmm. So 2008 distilled by Parker Beam, 65% malted barley, 35% corn. So he gave me one of those bottles and 2 other bottles. And when I tasted that, I was like, this is BTAC caliber or better. Like, this is out of this world amazing. So I even did like an ISO in some of the natty groups.
Oh, wait a minute. You set up a trafficking ring.
Shout out David Quinn, bro. He set me up. But I did an ISO, and a couple people were like, hang on, that's our bottle, that's our barrel. How'd you get that? I'm like, oh, so I'm not putting it out there yet. Well, evidently I got it before it was even released. So before it was even at the stores in Massachusetts, I got this. But fortunately, I got the N on that. And so barrel 47, 55, barrel 54, I think it was 57. It was someone dropped in Tennessee, different places. And luckily I knew about it before it caught on. Now they're going for $600, $700 secondary. But I was able to buy a ton at cost plus shipping before it became hot and popular and the prices went up. But it's phenomenal.
It's a great
discontinued mash bill. Yeah. You won't have it any again. I mean, so if you can get it, get it.
And it's not, I'm privileged to be friends with those guys, and I don't know that the malt's going to be around forever. I mean, they're eventually going to run out of that whiskey and won't have it again. So if you see it, use a very distinct bottle. Usually has some very artsy fartsy label.
Yeah, it's the black colored bottle.
The black full
exceptional
black bottle,
series.
Exceptional series. Now, some of the exceptional series, eventually that's going to become a bourbon more regularly.
There's already some out that are bourbons.
There's already some out there that are bourbons.
I entered one of those. It scored 28.
Anthony entered one in there.
I think it was 28.
We probably had rare character the most.
For rare character?
Was rare character.
Interesting.
I think it was like 6 or 7.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, with 3 13th colonies, right?
3 13th colonies. I don't think we had that many rare characters, do we?
Dude, we had a bunch. I had our House of Bourbon Exceptional.
Yep.
54, Anthony's Bourbon. We had Short Barrel.
4.
Pride of Anderson County.
Oh, is that considered a rare character?
Yeah.
So that's 5.
County.
Yeah, so if we had 5.
5, I think it was.
5.
Yeah. Pride of Anderson County was what scored the absolute lowest for me, which is crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's nuts, right?
That is nuts. We did an episode on that, and we all really enjoyed it.
No, I enjoyed it too, and I'm privileged to have had a hand in the release of that, and it scored a 5 for me.
Oh man!
The only thing I didn't, I know Kenny had like a couple of 2s and 3s. Honestly, I didn't score anything below a 5. I had 1 5, and the rest were like 6 or 6.5 and up.
No, I had a 3 was my lowest.
3 was your lowest,
and that was that Ben Holiday soft red wheat.
So soft.
But for the listeners out there, though, just some quote unquote bangers that everybody sought after that were on there. The Four Roses 135th SMBLE was on there. That came in at 31st.
Yeah, third to last.
Wow.
No, it was higher than that. It was 31st out of 39.
Yeah, you're right.
Pride of Anderson County, though, scored 29th. The whole Elijah Craig barrel proof, everybody, whiskey of the year, blah, 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 blah. For us, it finished 15th.
It's pretty high.
It's pretty high.
For the group, it finished
for the
15th.
Group.
I scored it a 9, so it was tied
for you?
in my top 5.
I gave it a 6.
Scores, yeah.
I gave it a 6, and I gave the B523 a 7. But we did have Stag, the junior, not junior anymore. 23A and B were in there. Maker's Mark Cellar Aged was in there. Wild Turkey Generations was in there.
Michter's 10 bourbon.
Michter's 10 bourbon, the A batch that everyone flipped out over was in there. But none of those made it all the way up to the top. You know, once you put those blinders on, once you take the price tag and the marketing and the hype out of the equation, they did not make it. Did not make the cut.
Well, I do have to say this though: of the 40 whiskeys, I know we didn't go through all of them. It's a very robust, nice list.
Oh, yeah.
And they're bottles that anybody would be happy to get their hands on. Like, I mean, for us to be able to sit around and do that is, well, first of all, thanks to both of you for putting up many of the whiskeys. But it's incredible honor and privilege to even get to sip those things.
Well, Ron's got a great point. Like Ben Holiday Soft Red Wheat for us finished dead last. That's still a great bottle.
Right.
Like overall, I mean, if you just drink that, you'd be like, it's good.
One of those, you should be.
Yeah, because I mean, it was, especially for the money, it's really, really good.
If you took these 40 bottles and just like, all right, I'm going to start my whiskey collection with these 40 bottles.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it
would be better than most.
It'd be better than a lot of stuff, yeah.
It'd be better because all of these are like great things to drink. There's special stuff in here. There's stuff that you could drink, you know, for a special occasion and then everyday stuff. There's a lot of range too. That's what was the coolest thing. We have a lot of like weird mash bills or stuff that's double barreled, or we had, you know, rum finished or kind of hit all the points. There's a representation, I think, of most everything in here. Hell, even had an Irish whiskey. So, I mean,
yeah,
I think it was a pretty good list.
Especially if any of our listeners are getting newer into bourbon, you know, everyone's going to be always Rock Hill Farm, Elmer T. Lee, Blanton, blah, blah, blah. Those those can't even hold a candle to the stuff that's in this list. So like Ron saying, if you're starting your collection out, look for some of the stuff on this list. We might like maybe publish the list even, like put a list out on the Facebook page.
Hey,
People
we can do
kind of
that.
see what that is.
We can do that.
Just so that way, I mean, you can kind of see what you can, instead of spending money on Blanton and Elmer T. and Rock Hill, this stuff here just is better and it's less money.
And I actually learned something about my palate during all this.
Yes. Steven said he didn't know about his scores, and you were asking about some of the scores earlier, Anthony. Steven is not a malted barley guy.
Yep.
So
Not yet. He might develop.
Is this one of those things like when wine drinkers start, they like the whites, and then eventually they get into the red and the red dry? Is this going to be my red dry?
it might be, but like say for example, Ryan and I know Dan for sure from Bourbon Junkies, they don't mind either heavier oaked or more tannic stuff than I do. That's why the 13th Colony, the C923, a lot of those scores so high for you all. I'm not a tannic guy. I like high proof. I don't like heavier oak or tannin stuff. And that's where I might change that too. My palate might move up, down, left, right, and C. But for you right now, at least, the Redbreast, which is 100% barley, 50% malted, 50% regular, my old Louisville pick, and the rare character for Steven, all three scored very low for you that night. That's just where malted barley is just not your jam now, or might never be. Who knows? But not right now, at least.
Which is weird because I think I like the Balcones, right? That was 100%.
Yeah, the Balcones. So you used my incorrect pronunciation, and I'm so happy that you did because I'm the one that always screws things up. So yes, that one you did like.
I did like that one.
That one's a little different though because it was younger in age,
And that was totally different.
and it was totally different. Like I don't know if it was a Texas heat or what, but that had like grapefruit and like crazy flavors that don't come. These ones are like more developed, like almost. I don't want to say Scotchy because Scotch is a turnoff to a lot of people,
right?
But you can taste a little bit of that Scotch flavor, very light, and that might be what's turning you off.
So, guys, for tonight, we have a bottle that we're going to see if it could have been one of the top 40 for last year.
There you
Since
go.
I guess Ryan bought it last year.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
December 23rd.
So it technically counts, I guess, right?
There you go.
So for tonight, we have a bottle of Old Stubborn straight wheated bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
He keeps getting me every time. You stole my line, Kenny. You owe me money now. So the old Stubborn straight wheated bourbon is from a distillery. It's not really a distillery, not distilling up there, but their blending is Rising Tide Spirits. The bottle date is 2023/24. And the ABV is 61.9. Proof is 123.8. The mash bill is unknown other than the fact that it is a blend of pot still wheated bourbon. The age is a blend of 10, 11, and 13-year-old barrels. The MSRP on this is $249.99, and it's about $1,500 bottles, and it's only available, I think, as far as I know, in 3 places. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. It's Bourbon Concierge, and that's if you're in Kentucky and other states. Then it's Sealbox in other states for online, and then I believe Revival in Northern Kentucky did a pre-order, and Revival is the vintage spirit shop, Brad Bond's, right, up there in Northern Kentucky. So give him a little shout out. So that's the total of where you can get this pot still wheated bourbon.
I don't know that you can. I know Steelbox had it. I got it off Steelbox. So
okay. When I looked before we started recording, I did see that it was still in stock, at least at Bourbon Concierge, and I think the pre-order for Revival was sold out. And I don't know where Steelbox stood. I think they were still had a couple left. But so, gentlemen, the reason why this whiskey has received so much acclaim and we haven't even had a chance to sip it, and many people haven't even reviewed it yet, is because it is actually put out by someone named Ed Bley, and Ed, we'll talk about him in here in a second, but people have been waiting a long time for him to release a whiskey. So before we get to talking about him and Rising Tide Spirits, I want to comment first on the bottle and the packaging. We always do that traditionally, and this has a lot going on to it. So the first thing we have is a tube.
An E.H. Taylor tube? No. You have a tube?
It's your standard tube. What is this? I'm colorblind, but this looks like a purple color. Is this purple? Purple. Okay, purple, magenta.
I always forget you're colorblind.
Yeah. Well, it actually, this morning, my wife asked me, she said, "Are these pants black or blue?" And I looked at her and I said, "Are you serious right now?" I was like, "No way." And so I said, "I have no clue." It's only close colors that I can't tell the difference in. But what do you guys think of this tube? It's got the appropriate amount of writing.
It's got the big pot still on it.
It's got an old man.
I like it.
It looks sharp.
Yeah, next to a pot.
It looks very stubborn.
Yeah.
It's shiny.
It's very stubborn.
Yeah.
Shiny purple,
Shiny.
yeah, glossy purple.
Yeah. Well, I think if I saw this in a shop, I would initially be looking at the tube and wondering what's in the tube. We've talked before about wax. We've talked about tubes. Those are 2 things that you draw your eye to. What do you guys think about the bottle itself?
It's like old school decanter, like 50s, 60s decanter style.
Yeah.
Well, like Art Deco style.
Yeah.
It's very simple. The label's very simple. I think if I had a least favorite thing about it, it would be just the label.
It looks like a perfume or cologne also.
Yeah, 100%. That's
It's
what
like,
it does look like. Actually,
yeah.
it reminds me of one of those oversized cologne bottles or something.
Yeah, because
it's pretty.
Yeah.
For sure.
And this is there's a lot of emotion behind this bottle, man. There's a lot of people that have been around bourbon a lot longer than me that had more ties and connections to Ed. I guess he's known with Cork N Bottle, right?
Yep.
And with tons of just like banger picks, killer picks,
epic.
fire, just epic of epic picks. So this is it's got a lot of riding on this, man. You know, my opinion, because I mean, if this is his first release, we'll see how it goes. But I've heard some very, very, very mixed reviews on this.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about it. I just know that my big thing with my actual first interaction or knowing about Ed Bley, I was a little bit late to the party. So I'd heard he'd been doing these great barrel picks, and then he released the famous Old Baldy Batch 1, which was an exclusive blend that he did with Jeff Mattingly of Bourbon 30, using that distillate that they had up there, and people went bonkers. That might be one of the first independent bottles that I've ever seen that shot up, you know, with not anybody knowing, like, nationally. Some people knew who Ed was nationally, but not everyone. That kind of put it on the map. And when I say I was late to the party, I knew nothing of Baldy 1, but I did get my hand on Baldy 2, and the lines for Baldy 2 were insane. Just absolutely insane. You never see anything like that up in northern Kentucky, with people like strolling across parking lots and everything, waiting to get their hands on what he, you know, put together.
He definitely somebody that an OG. We wouldn't be here today without people like him in our industry, I think. I don't know Ed personally. I know him, you know, in circles. But we're talking about a guy that, you know, was doing barrel picks in 2014, 2015, before most places had a well-known barrel program. I don't remember the year, like 2017 or 2018 maybe. I think he was like Wild Turkey's single barrel selector of the year. He sold like 25 barrels of Wild Turkey through Cork N Bottle or something, and crazy.
Yeah.
Russell's picks, he's definitely well known. Some of like all time Russell's picks Ed was a part of, and you know, things were just so much different then. I mean, you could roll up to Wild Turkey and, you know, try as much as you want to keep rolling them out until you found what you liked, and
roll your own barrel out of the warehouse.
And then really early on in Four Roses, doing a lot of Four Roses picks. He was also a huge guy for Smooth Ambler for Old Scouts. Somebody that was really, really early on in those premier MGP days of Old Scout, and
I've had some good Cork and Bottle picks, man.
Yeah, and then they had a really, really awesome store, and Ed was a huge part of that. I mean, he ran the single barrel program, and
Well, if I may interject on that, I read, and I don't know if this is true, that the store was struggling financially before he got involved, and then it ascended to this like amazing cult favorite where you got people flying in from all over the country just to get these single barrels. And then now he moved on, I think in 2018 is when he stepped down from that position and announced he was doing Rising Tide Spirits. And now when I went to Cork and Bottle, I saw we're currently searching for a new retail home. That's what I saw on their website. I don't know if that's still current or not, but I was kind of like, dang, that sucks. You know, I've been up that way in a while. Not that I've intentionally forgot about him, but I wondered if that had anything to do with the fact that he's no longer picking the barrels.
He was a huge part of it. So I remember those days too, when that was when Bourbon 30 was like just starting.
Yeah, it just started.
Just kind of popping off, doing what they were doing. We didn't really have anything like that. Actually, you know, not my jam, but we didn't have anything like that in the space that I know of. Yeah, Old Baldy and Baldy 2 were like sort of very culty.
I think I've told Kenny and Steven this story, but I'll tell you. So I had just gotten like really serious about whiskey. Was Baldy 2 17 or 18? I think it was 17.
I think it might have been 18.
May have been 18
was the year that I sort of really got into it.
Okay. Well, I think it was
18.
I think the first year I got a Van Winkle was 17, and that was like, oh God, now I have to get everything. And so once I get Baldy 2, and there's so much fanfare for it, I remember I saw someone post on a national site, for trade, William LaRue Weller 2018, in search of Old Baldy 2. And I messaged the guy and he said, straight up. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, I'd be a fool not to do this. And then I looked at that bottle and I was like, you know what? I got to keep it. I'm like, I can't. I still have it. I've tasted it because I've tasted a sample from someone else, and I'm glad that I still have it. But I still have that bottle sitting in my storage area of my house. And I could have had a 2018 William LaRue Weller straight up for it. So I don't know if I did good or bad on that.
I don't know the last time I've even seen one. Like, I don't know what the market price is on.
They're about $1,000 now.
But I was gonna say it's one of those that like only pops up every year or something. That not many people have. Like, I would imagine a lot of those got drank.
Yeah, white wax in the top, beautiful presentation.
Yeah, it was something. And we've gone the opposite here. Like, we've gone very minimalist. Very the tube is decked out.
Yeah, tube's
it's
nice.
Real shiny and reflective purple, and they've carried a little bit of that design label over to the glass. Yeah, it definitely catches your eye. Which, somebody who works in a retail store, I have a pretty small footprint, and we have a lot. You definitely need something that catches people's eyes. I mean, we're guilty of it. We shop with our eyes. We eat with our eyes, right? So
absolutely,
it makes sense to get something eye catching and that kind of pops. You just got to follow it up with what's in the glass after that.
Well, should we go for our first nosing?
Let's do it. So, just for the listeners, me being a complete nerd with a touch of the tism.
Hey, clean up your mouth.
Let me just touch of the tism.
We'll just say touch.
Touched. But no, one thing to back up on this too, in a couple of our groups, some guys that are actually close to Ed, know Ed a lot, they really did say, Ed said, when you open this bottle, open it, you pour you out a drink, or whatever. He's like 5 to 7 days later, that's when something really good happens, something magical special happens. And, a lot of us don't really buy into that. I know things change. I just don't think they change that much in 5 to 7 days. But prime example was 2022, the Parker's Double Barrel. I cracked it on a Thursday night because we were going to put it in our blinds that Friday.
Yep.
Thursday night, I told Ron, I'm like, even though we wanted to put a Parker's in, I don't think we should. It's not very good. So I took it to J-Hob on Friday. We blinded it against some old Carters, and it still finished last. We're like, man, this is not that good. He's like, well, still include it, though. And I'm glad he did, because that night it finished like, what?
Fifth.
Yeah, fifth.
Oh, wow.
So
a couple days.
And so for 2022, based on our rankings and scores, that was the best bottle for the money in 2022, because it was going up against $1,500 to $5,000 bottles. So I know things change for sure. I just don't know about a 5 to 7 day magical. So me being the nerd I did, I'm looking at the clock, and it is 8:55 right now. So when Alves first got here, I poured me a pour at 6:55. I poured another pour at 7:15. I poured another pour at 7:40. I poured another pour at 8:05, and now we just fresh poured this. So I have multiple timed as they sit because, in my opinion, if you have a bottle that you open and it's 5-7 days later, it's not much different than letting it sit out on the table, getting more air into it. So I'm also being a nerd that way tonight.
Yeah, I've had mine on the table since we started. So
Yeah.
What did we talk for an hour?
And this bottle itself has been open for 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I opened
Okay.
it probably at about 3 o'clock yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Well, right off the bat,
yes, sir.
before I was swirling it, I did not really like the nosing of it.
Okay.
It kind of was musky smelling, very proofy, I thought.
Yep.
Kind of green, so not things I like. But then I start swirling it. I guess off those swirls, I was getting real delectable notes out of it.
Okay.
A lot of rich scents like caramels and such.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So I think this will have to be one that we use the aerator for at the end.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I definitely
To
think
kind
we
of
should
see
try
a
to
little
aerate it.
before and after.
So one thing that I'm getting that so I'm getting the grainy. Well, you said green.
I get grain up front.
Yeah, I
grain
think
forward.
that pot still distillate still shows a lot of grain, and even at the age for this, there's still grain showing. There's also the ethanol you mentioned to me is a little bit of a sharp note that pulls you up from your nose. It like kind of hits you, but for me, I'm getting a lot of crushed peanut, like
Yeah,
crushed
there's some
peanut
nuttiness
shells.
for sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't. It's having it yesterday, fresh crack. I did not enjoy the nose at all.
Okay.
It was kind of off-putting, honestly. And I did the same thing yesterday. I kind of let it sit. I didn't quite let it sit as long, maybe 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then it became more nutty from there. Still some grain, some cereal grain, sort of harshness. I don't get a lot of oak, which is maybe that's because it's a weeder. I can't tell, or because it's all pot still. But I mean, we've had plenty of pot still whiskey. I mean,
But to be that older age, you'd think
yeah,
you get
you
more
would
oak
think
on
it's I don't know that we said, but it's a 10, 11, and 13-year blend of wheated bourbon distilled in West Virginia. So I'm not getting a lot of like rich oak that I would. 12-year whiskey is my favorite. If I could drink 12-year whiskey for the rest of my life, I would. Right?
Oh, nice. That's your sweet spot, huh?
That's my jam. So it seems like this makeup would be nice, but for whatever reason, on the nose, I will say, not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, it kind
harsh is a good word,
yeah,
Anthony. It's sharp on that nose.
It waxes and wanes. And like what Steven said, though, when he said he's getting some delectable things, when I nose it long enough, and especially when it goes side to side, I do sometimes get this little glimpse of what's a really nice. I like weeders, right? So I like get this little glimpse where I'm like, oh, that's nice. But then something creeps into the back end, that mustiness that you mentioned, that creeps in, and I'm like, oh. So the nose is just all right to me. It's a
funky wheat.
It's a funky
sure.
weeded,
Definitely
weird,
nutty.
nutty.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I got the
definitely
peanut,
nutty
yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
Not like a salty, like an unsalted peanut.
Yeah, like a crushed shell.
Yeah.
Crushed
Which
shell.
isn't. I'm not a huge like nutty whiskey fan anyway. It's different when it's like becomes rich and chocolatey and it's chocolate covered peanuts or something, or nougaty or something that I can relate to. A candy bar.
Yeah.
But even I get a ton of nut on Wild Turkey products, which are like my jam.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Heaven Hill stuff. The Elijah Craigs and
Yeah.
Larcenies of the world. But for whatever reason, this one just is funky too.
Yeah. When I walked down to the basement, when I saw Kenny's little pouring experiment over here, I said, "What's that?" He said, "It's the whiskey for tonight." And I grabbed it, nosed it real quick, and what did I say? Do you remember what I said? I said Snickers.
Yeah,
you did say Snickers.
Yeah.
Immediately.
I immediately said Snickers, and so I did catch that scent, but it's still like what you're saying. I want it to be more developed.
Just off you have to really get in there, I think, to get some of the more nuance, which is fine. Maybe it is something that's going to get better. I've certainly had that happen. Sometimes it's just getting it past the shoulders is enough, right? Like I've got bottles that have been open for 5 years that I go to, and they're wildly different, right? Time works. I can't say that it doesn't. I'm a believer that it does.
Okay.
5 to 7 days seems too soon to really change, but you never know.
That's my whole point of that's like, so
I've heard it both ways. I know one of my best friends, Dan Shook from the Bourbon Junkies, they're working on some blending right now for their house label, And he was like, dude, we're having a really hard time. We'll put something together, that, it's 4 or 5 barrels and it rocks. And then the next day we're just like, what is this? And they're like, and we'll let it sit for 3 days and it's just not any good. We can't find something that lasts past the initial makeup. So maybe you do have to give things longer. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that we typically are talking between our nosing and trying, but I mean, I'm kind of excited to taste this.
Yeah,
You guys,
I say we just go for the first.
I say we go
first
for it
tasting,
too. Yeah. I mean, and then Kenny, you
I
can go
have
for your
5 pours over here. I'm gonna taste through.
He's going to try to tell us the difference between the 5.
We may have to lower the
Don't
mic to the
challenge me,
floor
bro.
when he's on
Don't
the
challenge
ground.
me. I'll do it.
What'd you say?
I'll have to lower the mic to the floor when he's on the floor.
Don't challenge me.
Do it.
I like challenges.
I said this yesterday, and I will, my initial thoughts of it yesterday. I enjoy the palate a lot more than I enjoy the nose. I think that I'm getting less of the funk that I get on the nose. I'm still getting like some harshness, but I'm able to pick up a little more oak, a little more sweetness. The kind of soft wheat aspect that wheateds kind of bring is there. I think I don't know that I would miss that. I couldn't miss this as a wheated bourbon. I definitely enjoy the palate a lot more than I like the nose for sure. It's hot. I mean, it's hot. It's got some ass, as I say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It drinks overproof to me,
Yeah, like it's
and I don't
really
enjoy
hot.
overproof.
Yeah.
It's something
In
that
general.
I wouldn't say abrasive or anything, but it's definitely
So, like, I mean,
punchy.
if something's 115 and it drinks 100, that's a check mark. Something's 130 and it drinks 120. To me, it's a check mark. I always look for something that drinks under proof, and this definitely drinks overproof.
Okay, I just realized it was 123. I was thinking it was like mid 130s.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
It's overproof.
There you go. Perfect.
My first drink, I get more of a, I'm not gonna say unsweet, but a very less sweet Snickers. Like you said, it's a very not very sweet, but it's like a candy bar. A little bit of caramel, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of definitely peanut nut in there.
There's some greenness too. Like I can see that, and maybe they're I don't know. We don't know anything about the barrels they're using, or char levels or anything like that. So I mean, all that stuff is totally different.
But I think it's fair to tell the listeners that although we don't know what it is, it's pretty assumed of what it is.
Oh, I'm talking about
How
we
it finished.
expect it is
Yeah.
from a distillery in West Virginia. That's pretty big name.
Yeah.
There's been no report of that other than it just adds up.
It has to
who's
be,
been around
right.
that long enough
Right.
that might have
To make a
whiskey
pot
salt,
still.
right?
So this is like big est level.
Sure. But I don't, we don't know anything about like chars or cooperages or anything like that.
All right. So,
I get a green grass.
Yeah.
yeah, so the grain, here's the thing. We've said it before, just say it tonight. If you like grain, and some people really like to taste grain, and this is well-aged grain, there is an element of oak, and I almost feel like that whatever you guys just mentioned, barrels, and I don't know if it's because you're talking about barrels, but I have 2 wheater profiles in mind when I taste wheaters. The Heaven Hill wheat profile and the Buffalo Trace wheat profile. The Buffalo Trace wheat profile to me is very like nice dark fruits, like delectable, I always said the first time I tasted William LaRue Weller, I thought it was like a berry cheesecake. Like it was just dang delicious. The Heaven Hill profile tends to be a little bit drier, and this is matching more of the Heaven Hill profile of a wheater, to me anyway, than a Buffalo Trace one to compare it to other wheaters. But it's like a mid, like not quite there oakiness that's lacking. Like the oak backbone is lacking for me anyway. I like the oak, and I don't get enough of it to get super excited about what I'm tasting. I'm tasting peanut chocolate. And then the finish, I wish I could tell you what it is, but it's not. The front and mid palate are my favorite, and the finish is just not what I'm liking for whatever reason.
Definitely some of that peanut and chocolate. And I guess there's some green, like a grass, mixed in there.
Yeah.
Is that the musty funk?
It might be the
Yeah, it could just be, green wood or, not sour or anything, but like just funky wood. I'm not getting like richness
Right.
from barrel interaction. Obviously, you were getting our color and our flavor from interacting with the wood and wood sugars, and I'm not getting that like richness. I mean, you can see it's pretty dark.
It's very dark.
Checks the boxes for color, and I even like the mouthfeel. I think it's got like some
Oh yeah, it's
viscosity
pretty.
and,
It's pretty oily. The mouthfeel is
and
pretty
oily.
oily.
The finish sort of was fading, and there's just like a sharpness that is just like kind of
Right. It's like a
can't really get rid of.
funky sharpness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way to.
The heat stays in your mouth.
Yep.
for a while.
I do agree, though. It's funny. You totally put it in my head. I did not think of this before you said it, but it sort of reminds me of the Bernheim, like barrel proof weeder that they have.
Right.
Not a huge fan of it, but
It's very sharp, though. Sharp is a great descriptor on this.
No.
It is sharp.
Well, I think about larceny too, and what I sometimes like and dislike about larceny and Old Fitz is sometimes the finish is very like a dry cocoa powder almost, and other times it's like really rich and like keeps going, and it just depends on the year and everything. There's a lot of variation there, and this one it's like it's not either of those. It's definitely like a funky, sharp, a little bit weird. I can't quite put my finger on it. I wish I could tell you what it is because it feels like I should know what it is, but I can't.
yeah, Steven just pulled out the aerator.
Here we go. You better watch the bottom of that glass.
Kenny, do you have the one that's been open the longest still?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to touch on right now. Honestly, the one that we poured, so right when Steven did the pop on it and poured his, I poured mine. My newest pour, which has still been sitting now for 15, 20 minutes. That tastes better to me than the ones I poured previously. But yeah, so as far as when I'm drinking them, I do like the newest poured better than one poured 2 hours ago and an hour and 45 ago and an hour and a half ago. So getting that kind of air into it has not helped it. I think I'd prefer the brand new fresh pour because the one's been poured for literally 2 hours, the one's been poured for an hour and a half, still has that sharpness, but not near as sweet. So the fresh pour has more sweetness to it than the ones that have set out longer. So I don't know what's going to happen inside the bottle 5 to 7 days from now, like he's saying, but we'll definitely revisit it a week from now.
Maybe that's a good sign is that, once it's truly getting air out of the bottle in a glass, maybe it's not going to do as well, but maybe all the magic is happening with the cork on inside.
Yeah.
Again,
We'll
I don't
find
think
out
it's
a week from now.
I don't think it's as crazy to think that could happen.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get much difference
Right.
in the aeration. this
Really?
time. Yeah.
I
Still
wondered-
get the sharpness. It's still
The sharpness is
not
there.
much like extra notes or anything in taste or
Interesting.
aroma.
That's really interesting. I don't really know what to say. I'm kind of like thinking about all the weeders I've tasted and how excited I am and was to taste this, and I'm kind of at a little bit of a loss of words right now. I'm going to have to prepare myself for what I'm going to say here for our wonderful segment of Pass Try By when it comes up.
Well, if you guys have a minute, you want to close your eyes, I'd like to pour you something.
All right, are we doing a surprise blind here?
Yes.
Okay.
It wouldn't be Kenny Mills if we didn't.
Hold on, let me get a clean brush.
I'm getting clean right now.
Oh, okay. So, did you give me meat broth?
The Kenny Mills meat broth blind.
Bouillon cube.
Yeah, bouillon. What do we have here?
Put a bouillon in
That's why we
there.
use
Just a
black
mushroom
blends
bouillon?
usually. So, got a little blind poured here, and I wanted you to have this before we do Pass Try By.
This is elk, isn't it?
Okay. Uh-oh, is it old elk?
Knows this bad boy.
I meant the animal, not the bird.
Oh, you meant the animal. All I know is this nose is very nice.
Very sweet on the nose, I think.
I know exactly what this is.
I knew you would. All right. So,
I do not know what it is. I do like it.
thoughts though?
I like it.
Like it?
Totally different than obviously what we were just coming off of. Mm-hmm. Sweet, rich, dark.
Chocolatey?
Chocolately?
Yeah.
I think I get chocolately.
Yeah.
Underlying green grass a little bit still though, right? Just a little bit? Not a lot?
You normally the way you do blinds is sort of relevant. So I think it could be a weeder.
Yeah.
I think that's just in there. That I think is what you're saying, like green funk. I just think that's like wheat funk.
I get this is chocolatey and sweet to me.
And more peanuts. Right.
Yeah, I
If
would
this is
even-
peanut, it would be not a dry draw you up, more of a salty peanut for me, I guess.
I would even.
It feels dry. You don't think so?
I'm just saying compared to what we just had.
Oh, compared to that.
Yeah.
I would even maybe if we were playing the over under finished or not finished, I might even say that it was finished or something.
Gotcha.
I think this is a
It's got
nice,
some.
nice ripe raisins.
We
Yeah.
just got those after swirling.
So,
So we got chocolate raisin.
I think I know exactly what this is, but
oh, you do, because you also heard me pouring it. That's why I said you knew what it was.
You know the sound of pours?
no, I didn't. I didn't hear you.
Yes, you
pouring.
did.
No, I didn't. I think I know what this is because I think I had a pour of it last night.
This is a MSRP of $250 also. This is a weeder also. Now, based on what we just drank, who has any Old Stubborn left?
Me.
Oh,
All right.
I want some though.
So Old Stubborn is 123 proof. Steven thought it was 135, and I agree. It drinks overproof. To me, the Old Stubborn drinks a little sharper and harsher than this, but what do you think, Steven, on proof?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is 2023 Garrison Brothers Cowboy Hazmat.
Yes.
140 what proof? 141,
I think it's 141.
43.
Oh, definitely,
1.9.
definitely drinks not.
Almost
Underproof,
142.
bro. Way underproof.
Yeah.
So you've got a 6 to 7 year weeder
I think, 6
at
to 7,
Hazmat.
6, 8, yeah.
Right. Compared to this blend of, was it 10, 11, 13 year?
Yeah, 10, 11, 13.
10, 11, 13,
yeah.
So both weeders, but the Hazmat drinks way under
Yeah.
this 123 proof. And
I like the Yeehaw bottle better.
Yeehaw.
Garrison.
Cowboy.
oh, I gotcha. Like, yes, I was confused.
Thank you, Ryan.
Autism. I poured a bunch here, but yeah. So that's why I wanted you to pour this before we did pass try by.
I did actually have a pour this last night, so that's why I knew
Did you?
immediately what it was. Yeah, I have a bottle at home, and I had a
is
little
awesome.
tiny nip.
Waiting for Jordan and Michael. It would have made it in top 10, but
It wasn't
Yeah.
even close, but yeah, no, maybe
One of Kenny's bottles.
one of Kenny's bottles.
It would've made it.
It was actually
Should've
mine.
made
I
it.
submitted
Oh,
that.
you submitted it?
I submitted
Yeah.
Cowboy. Yeah,
should have made it.
I thought that was the one that was going to make it through.
I did too. No, I did. I thought it'd be a top 5 whiskey of the year.
Yeah.
For me, my scores, it was every single round. It was up there. But actually, Alves, you scored it high in the prelims.
I think so.
No, you did. Only Jordan and Michael are the only two that scored it low.
I scored it a 7.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like
So, I mean,
5 or
7
something.
Yeah. My lowest was a 5. I probably had, it was probably in the bottom 15 for me.
Yeah. But this is
I
another one.
liked it.
Yeah.
I said, when I found out what it was, I said it's probably the best Texas whiskey I've ever had.
Yeah. I never had a Garrison Brother ever.
Yeah,
Until that one, because honestly, everyone that's in our tighter knit groups and people I do respect said how bad previous Garrisons were. But fortunately, I never had one, so I did not have a bad preconceived notion going in. And I think this is freaking great. I think it's phenomenal.
First time I don't know if it was the first time I ever had it, but I had a Cowboy before with my good friends down in Florida, Dan and Julie, who I'm gonna see. They're coming to Kentucky. They're gonna be here tomorrow night about this time, which is I'm so
really?
excited for.
Really?
Yeah, we're doing a little weekend, just hanging out and doing some barrel picks and going to dinner and just.
Who's off on Thursdays?
Who's off on Thursdays?
Kenny's looking for an invite.
Well, they're not going to be here till tomorrow night, but so the fun doesn't kick off till Friday. But the first time I ever had it was at Dan and Julie's house, and I did not like it at all. Actually, when he said,
But I've heard they're not good.
when he gave it to me, I was like, "This is the best white dog I've ever had." You know what I mean? I was like, I did not.
I heard it's like mesquite vodka. All the other previous releases. What I
When
heard.
I walked in to his house today, he said it was the first time I'd kind of visited them. And he was like, "What do you want to drink?" He was like, "You can have anything you want." And I was like, "Well, am I an asshole if I ask for Michter's 25?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "I'll take Michter's 25." So that's what I started with. And then, like, as it goes, everybody's like pulling stuff off their wall and eventually handed me Cowboy. And I was like,
Yeah.
I like this one.
This
quite a
Cowboy
bit.
is really good.
I liked it quite a bit.
But I wanted y'all to have this. It's a weeder that's hazmat, 250 MSRP, just like the other one is.
Gentlemen, would you pass, try, or buy on the Old Stubborn straight weeded bourbon? I will go first.
All right.
I will get this party started.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I've been working on that.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to give this a pass plus.
Okay.
The only redeeming quality is the tube and the bottle.
Oh. Okay.
I like the bottle a lot.
Right.
I like its understatement
Yep.
in that if there was, it could be like a hidden gem on a bar.
Yep.
But I did not enjoy the nosing at all.
Okay.
Really. And it didn't really open up with the aeration. So I guess I'm going to probably eat my words in like 5 to 7 days when this opens up. But drinking it, I didn't really enjoy like all that, it drank higher than what the proof was. And for the dollar amount, kind of all that coming together, I'm just going to be a pass plus.
Okay.
So we will, fortunately, I know the guy whose bottle this is, Alves. So on a future podcast episode, probably the week after this drops,
Okay.
I will talk
Update.
about it because I will have another sip of it, and we'll have been opened 7-8 days. So we'll see if that magical
I
thing
want to eat
happened
my
or not.
words. I want to eat my words.
I do too, but so I'm also a pass. Not just drinking the Kerrison Cowboy, but just in general, I would be a pass. Even if this was 150, even if this was 99, I'd probably be a pass. Just did not enjoy it very much. To be honest, it wasn't as rich and oily and viscous as a couple of the reviews that I'd read were. Definitely was not as bad as some of the other reviews. So I'm not going to say it was bad, but
Did those reviews, did they say how long they had it opened?
most people, well,
Fresh crack?
within 1 to 2, 3 days. Yeah.
Okay.
But if it was, I don't know, $80, I might be a buy. If it was 150, I'm a pass. But I'm definitely a pass right now. But honestly, we will take Ed for what he said because he's an OG in the bourbon world, and I'll try it again a week from now, as long as Alves will let me. I will try it again, and then we'll report back. But as of right now, I'm definitely a pass.
Are you going to charge him secondary pour on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not letting you have any more because you said you're a pass. So there you go.
Well, I did pour 7 different ones, so
Well,
It's about half your bottle.
I'm going to have to pay for this.
Alves, I don't know. Do you want to go here or do you want me to?
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
Well, I did buy it, so I don't know how it works. I'm between pass and try. What's the full metric for try? Like just trying it at a bar?
Well, yeah, it's more or
trying
less
at a
like trying the bar.
Would you pay for a pour?
Yeah.
So if this is a $250 bottle,
Yeah.
what you would know more than us, if a bottle sells for $250, what would a bar charge for a pour on this?
Oh,
Probably.
you're the best person.
What-
Oh, he's the
they
best person to
charge
ask.
that? Yeah, no
the
kidding.
best person to ask. Whatever it is, a 1 ounce pour, whatever you do.
1 ounce pour, I'd probably charge like 25.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's
That would give me.
It's not a bad price.
That would be like doubling my money, which is probably a little low.
I think
honestly.
triple is what most of the
Yeah, I
bars
was
do.
gonna say that's probably a little low.
So it's probably a $35 pour.
Is that how they kind of come to
about
pour
triple.
shots or pour prices?
What if I was like running a bar program, I would want to be like aggressive, right? Like, and so I would want to pay for the bottle like halfway. Like I want to start making profit the last half of the bottle.
Okay.
I want that to all to be profit.
Okay.
For my.
I think most places are triple though.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I want to pay for it pretty early.
Yeah.
So triple
maybe
the price.
$35.
divide
So probably a
25.
$35 pour then.
So I guess with that criteria, I would try, if I saw this at a bar, I would 100% try it and pay for it. Probably up to 35 if I had to put a number on it. Just knowing what I know about, the guy who helps produce it, create it, I would try it just for, I'm a completionist, like I've got to try everything.
Absolutely.
So, but I don't regret buying it. So I can't say that I'm a pass.
Okay.
I'm not going to buy another one. I'm going to take it home and put it on my bar, and anybody who wants to try it is more than welcome to.
See you in 7 days, homie.
Yeah, and then we'll see next Wednesday.
Yeah.
But I would say I would be a try if I had to officially give it a score. I would pay money in a bar to try it.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, you guys this is tough for me. So all the allure, everything that I love about Weeders, and everything else, it just missed the mark for me. And I don't know if I set my expectations too high. I was kind of the same ranking as Steven was, where you said you were like a pass try. And
Pass plus.
Pass plus? Is that what you said? A pass plus? Here's the thing. I had this in my cart online, and I was hoping I would get a chance to try it. And now that I have, thank you, I just can't see myself buying it. And it's tough for me to say because I've had multiple picks from Cork N Bottle. I have Baldy 2. I really like Ed. I think Ed's going to do great things. And in 5 to 7 days, like y'all have said, maybe this thing is a different whiskey. Maybe in a year it's a different whiskey. Maybe it's opposite of most Weeders. Most Weeders that I open, if I let them go too long, they fall flat, right? But maybe this is the opposite, where it comes on strong at the beginning, and then as you let it go, it mellows out a little bit. So there's always that possibility, but I'm feeling like the guy on the tube right now. I kind of got my hands crossed.
Are you
I got
being
my head
stubborn?
down, and I'm being a little stubborn. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm kind of a pass plus. So Ryan, we're gonna have to let you get the last word here, because every time we end our shows, and for a while there we began them by saying, visit bourbonoutfitter.com, and we always end every week by saying that as well. So now that we
Why
have you
should we
here,
say it when he's here?
when you're here? So you gotta take us out here with tell us a little bit about anything that's fun, anything you want us to know.
Well, we're starting off the year. Hopefully, having another strong year. definitely for new whiskeys that are coming to the market. That's something I always pride myself on, is being an early adopter of something or giving something a try, finding what's sort of, popular on the streets. I like to kind of be attuned to what people are after.
What the kids are saying?
What the kids are saying. And, so I try to get onto things before they're mainstream, and then I kind of like slide out as they're hitting their peak. So the goal this year, definitely with Bourbon Outfitter, definitely trying to grow, the online retail space, which is really strong right now. Transparently, we had a really great year.
That's great.
Thanks to you guys and partnerships like this and loyal customers. We were going back through some stuff, numbers for the year or whatever, and we had one person order like 29 times, which was crazy to me.
Did they use our code?
They did not. They used another creator code.
Okay,
which was
that's
great.
good.
That's good.
So I love
Bourbon
that
Junkies
people
is my guess.
It was Bourbon Junkie. I think it was actually ADHD.
Was it ADHD?
Wait, did Kenny order from you?
Kenny orders.
Ordered a lot of things.
He always orders or uses code mashup.
There you go.
Spent hundreds of dollars
Hundreds
there.
of dollars. But so we were super grateful for the support. 2024. The main thing I'm going to be working on now is really trying to enhance our quarterly club. People who don't know, Bourbon Outfitter does a club 4 times a year. We have 3 different price points. We have just sort of like a beginner's where you get 1 to 3 bottles a quarter. Usually, I think the cost of the lowest level is about $100. We're usually trying to give you about $150 in value for retail, just because we want you to be able to try some really cool stuff. Mostly, I would say majority barrel picks. That's what we're known for. That's what we specialize in. Big part of my year is going to new brands and seeking out really, really excellent one-off whiskeys that, sort of drive the daily sales, along with, you can also go there and get your favorite, mixer or whatever, right? But I like doing the one-off stuff.
I tell everybody that your all's picks are just some of the best picks out there.
I would put our group up against most as far as, experience and palate and what we've seen, and obviously too, I'm blessed to have really, really great relationships with some of these places, and
you got a pretty good guy that goes along sometimes when he's invited for
when he
picks.
doesn't fall asleep or get a speeding ticket.
There you go.
Whatever. But now, hey, I'm always going to invite Kenny on picks because then I'm guaranteed to sell 4 or 5 cases of. I just say
Before you even leave the place.
Sit back.
So
I sandbag a little bit. I let him pick the winner, and then I've already sold 50 bottles. Before we've even got him back in the car. So.
He's clowning you, Kenny.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, that's how I normally tell people about the website. I was like, for bourbon drinkers, I'm like, if you want that one-off experience, this is not your going down, your corner store to buy, some Jim Beam.
You can.
Right.
It's probably not as good as a deal as Kroger.
Right. But for those experiences, you just can't get in the liquor store.
Sure.
I mean, head up the website because it's awesome.
Yeah, we're always trying to find new barrels. I got a barrel pick coming out that hopefully within the next month, maybe a month and a half, it's going to be an 8-year hazmat rye, which I'm super excited about.
Ooh,
Trying to do fun stuff like that. Something else we've got a bunch of Russell's picks coming in the pipeline, which are same old, but fire of the fire. So,
So Kenny, use code the mashup for that.
I do have one thing to close the show out with.
Oh, God.
Today was a special day.
Why was it a special day?
Shout out to Randall Jacobs.
Oh,
I forgot.
Yeah.
We are going to finish our show on a really high note.
There you go.
He south of Wrigley, Lexington, Kentucky. If you're in the area at all, if you're visiting, you have to go to south of Wrigley. They're open from 11 to 2, though, short hours. But he released the Cuban today again.
No. He renamed the Cuban.
He did rename it on his social media page, Kenny's Cuban. So I went there earlier today. I picked up 8 of them.
The man has never bought a single one of anything.
It's a case at a minimum.
Yeah. Even if he doesn't like it, he's got a second one.
Are you going to push these online?
They're
Cost plus. What are you doing here?
So I met my boy Nate there, Nate Nels. Shout out Nate. And my plan was to eat, because his specials are huge. Like they're truly large. So my plan was to eat half a sandwich and then eat the other half tonight after we finish, because all of y'all have sandwiches upstairs. I crushed the whole sandwich there. So I do have another sandwich also heating up in the oven for me. So we're going to go crush Cuban after this, after we hit the stop button here. So shout out to Randall and south of Wrigley, man. Appreciate you.
You said the first time in a year.
Yeah, I didn't realize it'd been a year. So
awesome.
Randall, I mean, I'm gonna be in his inbox. It's not gonna be a year.
Yeah.
Not for real.
Sliding his DMs, aren't you?
Now, I heard a couple of his employees that they talking about how they hate making the Cubans because there's a lot of work that goes into that. If you've been there's a little bit of a wait, Randall, but everything it's made exactly to order. It takes a little time, but
Randall seems to be a perfectionist on the sandwiches too.
Last year was once a year. This year will definitely. I'm gonna push for once a quarter. I'm gonna be in his inbox. So
that's crazy. He has that many specials.
Once a quarter, man. I'm
That has to go out that
I'm gonna be in
long.
Right.
I'm gonna be in
it's
that
usually
inbox.
once a week, or
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
2.
I'm gonna be in that
a week
inbox,
if
man.
it-
The Cuban once a quarter.
I had South of Wrigley yesterday. Didn't have the Cuban.
Yeah.
I just had my normal order. It was the first time I had it in a while. And somebody, Garrett, who works for me, was on his off day. And he was like, "Hey, man, I saw Kenny's Cuban getting released today." He's like, "I'm going to go to South of Wrigley. Do you want anything?" And I was like, I'm going to have the Cuban tomorrow. But yes, I do. Please
The
do.
best French fries, the
Yeah.
best hot dogs, the Italian beef is off the chart. Just everything, man.
Pizza
So
puff.
good. Pizza puff, and they have their own cheese sauce he makes by scratch.
So good.
Actually, the actual pizza puff and fries dipped in that cheese sauce, freaking next level. So good.
Making me hungry.
There you go. So get your bourbon from bourbonoutfitter.com and get your sandwiches from
South of Wrigley.
there you go.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY.
Don't forget to visit our partner bourbonoutfitter.com. Enter code The Mashup for a special discount.
Also, let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comment section. Until next time, keep it neat.